I am Trooper Caden of Krieg, engineer, im digging. We move, inch by inch in darkness only with our helm lights. I have been fighting on the cursed planet of Vrax for what feels like a lifetime. Time has stopped in a way. War does this to our minds. I was taught in training, from one fight to the next if you make it. The siege special operation has dragged on and on for years, and the enemy, these corrupted and wretched traitors, show no signs of giving up. We are trapped in a labyrinth of tunnels, fighting a relentless foe. Our own war rages underground, with little to no light, tight spaces and corridors, quiet and deadly. But we are the Death-Korps. Where we go, the enemies of the Imperium fall. I am part of a forward tunnel strike platoon that has been tasked with infiltrating a heavily fortified enemy stronghold bunker. We move through the tunnels silently, our gas masks muffling our breathing. The air is thick with the smell of decay and chemical toxins. Death has a scent. We come to a choke point in the tunnel. The enemy has sealed it off with a barricade of rubble and debris. We pause to assess the situation. We need to get through that barricade. First line dig, second on overwatch, lays guns on high, says Sergeant Harker. But it's going to be tough. The enemy will be expecting us. They are most likely just behind all that junk. You boys know this by now. We'll find a way. We are inevitable, I say, as I raise my laser gun and turn the potency to high. Down here you get one shot if you're lucky. Might as well make it count, I think. We set to work, digging through the rubble with our trench shovels. It is slow and arduous work, but such is war. It was more construction work than fighting for all I've seen here. After what seems like an eternity, we finally make a breakthrough, enough to pass. We clear a path through the barricade in tunnel combat formation, and we emerge into a large chamber. The chamber is filled with enemy soldiers. They are gathered around a large table, studying a map. They are caught completely off guard by our arrival. Golden Throne, this is a command post. Fire! Death to the traitors, screams Sergeant Harker. We open fire, cutting down the enemy soldiers like wheat before a scythe. The chamber is soon filled with the screams of the dying. We clear the chamber and move on, deeper into the stronghold. We hear movement now everywhere, the element of surprise lost. But they didn't expect us here so soon. We press forward and encounter more traitors. But we press our tactical advantage no matter how small. Our drill instructors were clear and they are right. We take this planet inch by inch. We fight our way through the stronghold, room by room. Our comrades fall. They, the enemy, can bleed too, and we press on. We follow what appears to be the main tunnel, until we reach what appears to be the enemy command center. The enemy commander is sitting behind some turned-over improvised table and shooting. This wretched traitor look of surprise on his face. He sees us and shoots again. Drop your weapon and surrender or die, I say. The only reason I said this is because the inquisitorial retinue demanded to, if possible, to take commanding enemies alive for intel gathering. The traitor laughs. It's a gnarly monster roar, the laugh of a possessed. You think you can defeat me? He asks. You are outnumbered and outgunned. We are the Death-Korps, I say. Outnumber or outgunned are meaningless to us. Surrender or die. I fire my laser gun and the insane wretch falls, dead. The rest of the enemy in the command center surrender. We have taken the enemy stronghold. It is a victory for the Imperium, but we know that the siege of Vrax is far from over. The prisoners will face fate worse than death once Inquisitors Rex's agents get a hold of them. Might as well would have shot them right here. We will continue to move and fight, no matter the cost. This war moves on our will, and we will take it back even if we have to fight for every single piece of dirt on this rock. This is our mission, and nothing else matters. That's what Colonel Jerton did, and we will not be found wanting. Welcome back, my friends. What did you think the original short story? Tell me about it in the comments, as I love to hear from you. Today we will dive into the most resilient and effective fighting force the Imperium of Man has against the many terrors that stalk the galaxy, the very meaning to the hammer of the Emperor. But before that, we need to know where did they come from, and how did they become the way they are. Now let's get to it. Krieg is a toxic radioactive death world, and the homeworld of the grim and fatalistic Astra Militarum regiment known as the Death-Korps. Much of the early history of what was once the hive world of Krieg, in the Segmentum Tempestus, is shrouded in rumour, allegory and dark myth. This of course is done on purpose, as in many worlds of the Imperium are many secrets. Secrets wished by the locals to never be revealed to the broader Imperiums, as doing this is almost always a grave mistake. Its dreadful history of rebellion and treachery has been obscured and lost in the mists of time. This once thriving hive world was a trading and manufacturing center that was populated by billions. Yet Krieg is now covered in a wilderness of ruined cities that span the poison-choked world. Bloated with wealth and corrupt with indolence, the former rulers of this world, the Council of Autocrats, was rife with petty vendetta and vice. This ruling oligarchy became increasingly insular and debauched over time. Their paranoia over an outside threat that could shatter their dictatorial rule caused them to sink vast resources into strengthening the defenses of their hive cities, building private armies, and further surrounding their world with an outward-facing ring of steel. Worse, the autocrats grew to resent the influence of the Imperial Administratum on their world, and in particular the heavy tithes levied on them by the Departamento Munitorum, taking resources they protested were vital to their own defense. In 433.M40, Krieg's largest hive declared planetary-wide martial law and that Krieg was now independent of the Imperium of Man. The High Autocrat further renounced the Emperor of Mankind as his divine master and political overlord. Krieg was then immediately devoured by a civil war, which erupted suddenly and violently between the heretical rebels who supported the High Autocrat and those citizens of Krieg who remained firm Imperial loyalists. After the rebels' initial attacks, much of Krieg quickly fell to the heretics, save for High Ferrograd, which remained under loyalist control under the command of Colonel Jurten of the 83rd Krieg Imperial Guard regiment. The civil war lasted for 500, filled with a grueling and completely devastating conflict that took both sides into total war of siege, armored, and nuclear weapons, as the loyal servants of the Emperor led by Colonel Jurten decided that they would rather see Krieg destroyed than fallen to the traitors. This led to a massive nuclear weapons assault. Finally, Colonel Jurgen emerged victorious after long years of war until finally returning to Imperial rule in 949 M40. Krieg, now a world devastated by nuclear annihilation, a death world that is still shrouded in mystery, is the home of one of the most powerful troops in the galaxy, the Death-Korps. The Death-Korps of Krieg is a regiment of the Astra Militarum that specializes in siege warfare. The regiments raised on Krieg seek to atone for their people's former treachery against the Emperor by displaying a disturbing disregard for their own lives in combat. Krieg was the site of a rebellion against the Imperium of Man over 1,500 standard years ago in the 40th millennium, and was bombarded with nuclear weapons, followed by 500 Terran years of grinding warfare between loyalists and traitors to purge the heretical rebels. After all those years of nuclear destruction and bitter trench warfare, Krieg was reduced to a scorched radioactive husk of a world composed of dust and mud, whose surviving people were forced to retreat into underground hive cities to survive the toxic planetary environment. The Death-Korps troops excel at wars of attrition and defensive combat in particular. Grim, fatalistic, and dour, they selflessly wade into some of the most grueling and abhorrent war zones saturated with radiation or other toxins, or solar decades-long sieges with sky-high casualty rates. The men and women of Krieg are a breed apart. They are most commonly deployed in the war zones of the Segmentum Tempestus and Segmentum Solar, and are particularly skilled at attritional trench warfare, sieges of and assaults upon heavily fortified static positions, and warfare in extreme environments known for their biological, chemical, and radioactive hazards. The Death-Korps is known for its unique culture that emphasizes sacrifice, discipline, and obedience. They have a strict hierarchy that is based on meritocracy. The highest-ranking officers are called Death Riders, who lead their troops from the front lines on horseback. The Death-Korps also has its own unique litany called the Litany of Sacrifice, which is recited by Krieg corpsmen when entering battle. The Death-Korps' uniform is distinctively grimdark. They wear gas masks that cover their entire faces, as well as heavy coats that protect them from radiation. Their armor is also heavily reinforced to protect them from enemy fire. The Death-Korps' weapons are also unique. They use weapons such as flamethrowers, grenade launchers, and heavy bolters that are designed for trench warfare. In terms of tactics, the Death-Korps is known for its ability to hold ground against overwhelming odds. They use their superior numbers to create a wall of bodies that can absorb enemy fire while they slowly advance towards their objective. They also use artillery extensively to soften up enemy positions before launching an assault. And that's the end of the video. I hope you have enjoyed the story and the lore where we have explored the Death-Korps, one of the most powerful Imperial regiments in the galaxy. Be sure, my friends, there is much more to know and more mysteries remain untold. We will keep investigating and revealing all there is to know. Until then, my friends, keep the light of the Emperor burning.